Hello friends, it's Kat from Meow, Kapow. Today's video is brought to you by the spirit of friendship, so I'd like to start off with a little clip from my sweet, incredibly talented, and courageously perseverant friend, Jennifer. Links for her channel, as well as the materials I used in this video, will be down in the doobly-doo. You may have noticed that Jennifer used American Sign Language to communicate to me in this video, and when we started talking about making a collab video, we were surprised to find that it's something we both have interest in, though neither one of us claims proficiency, so please forgive us for any grammatical and language errors. We're trying our best. The concept of our collab became that we wanted to ask one another in ASL to create a piece incorporating 3 words. Originally, we were also going to actually draw hands using sign language, but both of our plans evolved and we just sort of went with the flow. When Jennifer gave me the words lizard, book, and grow, I immediately thought of a lizard wizard reading from a glowing book with plants growing out of it, but a couple of sketches later and an entire night of furiously working while listening to swing music, I completely ditched the idea, lost my mind, and decided to actually make an entire book. I don't know where the idea came from or why, but once it came to me, I couldn't let it go, which is also kind of how I learned sign language. A few years ago, I was involved with a company that had an accessibility department which focuses on making the world around us more accessible to people by making certain technologies possible, like having your computer read your screen to you if you're blind, or having your phone's brightness able to go darker than normal to prevent triggering migraines, or stopping animations within programs to help those who suffer with vertigo. My goal was to help this department advance their project, and I would constantly send them ideas, bug reports, and user feedback despite not technically being a part of their team. Every year, I would apply to work with them on a temporary basis, but I had to do so in competition with everyone else in the company that was interested. I remember sitting at a table, trying to write an essay about why I thought accessibility was important and what made me interested in it. Making the world around us accessible to as many people as possible just always seemed like the right thing to do. I'd never stopped to consider why I care because it never occurred to me not to care. So I was talking to some friends about the topic, and everyone knew at that point that I was practicing ASL and had become a champion for accessibility features, and someone asked me to maybe explain why I wanted to learn ASL. I told them I didn't really know, honestly. I just woke up one day and decided to learn sign language because I wanted to, and once I'd gotten the idea in my head, I simply had to see it through. Learning about deaf culture and gaining friends in the community as a result was just a bonus, but it's not like I set out to change the world or anything, I just wanted to learn a language. From across the room, a friend said clearly and without hesitation, "You did it because you're a superhero. You see a wrong and you try to make it right." This has been probably the single most impactful compliment I've ever gotten, and I'm doing my best to live up to it. I do my best to spread warmth and encouragement, especially out here on this crazy internet. And I also do my best to consider the perspectives of others, no matter what the scenario, because I think we have a lot to learn from one another if we take the time to listen. I also have always made sure that all of my videos have closed captioning, because it's important to me to support the deaf community in even just this small way. And I think that's a lot of where the idea for this book came from. I wanted it to be a book that could be understood in any language, and one that encourages us to make things right. I don't want to explain what it means because if it needs to, I haven't done my job well enough. But I'd love to hear what the story in this book means to you, especially if it reminds you of an experience you've had. Don't worry, there's a full flip through towards the end. For me, my adventure of understanding why accessibility matters has evolved just because my exposure to and my understanding of the needs of other people has evolved over time. Learning ASL completely rocked my worldview and exposed me to an entire culture of people I didn't even know existed, which is honestly a shame. There's no reason that hearing people should live the majority of their lives without ever knowing a deaf person, because we live completely separately from one another, and hearing people have the luxury of not considering the deaf. Thinking about the needs of one group got me curious about others. For instance, I learned about the challenges of living in a wheelchair, not just from a mobility standpoint, but the day-to-day challenges of living in a world where counters and sinks and shelves and cabinets are always set well above what someone in a chair can comfortably and reliably reach. There's so many simple things in this life that I take for granted, like the ability to see and control how much toothpaste I'm putting on my toothbrush, that I had never considered may require an accessibility solution to someone blind, or someone with arthritis, or Parkinson's, or EDS. When you open your eyes and your mind up to one experience, it often leads to finding a whole slew of related experiences that only serve to better gift you with a broad and rich worldview. For me, anyway. I tend to not know when to rein in my curiosity. About this book I'm making here, though, I feel like I may have done gone and lost my dang mind with this project. I talk all the time about how I'm normally the slowest artist, but I somehow managed to sketch thumbnails and rough drafts for all 10 pages and the cover within 24 hours. Then I decided to make it even more difficult by choosing to ink and watercolor the images rather than just inking them and leaving it black and white. But then, of course, it only made sense to not only hand bind all of the books, but also hand carve a stamp for the cover and stamp them individually. Sure, I'd only ever carved one stamp before this in my life, as well as having made a tutorial on how to make a stamp without carving a few months ago, but what better time to suddenly start a new hobby than when the pressure's on and there's a looming deadline, right? It still ended up taking me probably 100 or so hours over the course of 3 weeks or something to make all of these books, but still, that initial burst of inspiration was incredible. Normally, when I come up with an ambitious project like this, my steam runs out well before the halfway point. So I'm very proud to say that not only did I finish this book, I finished 8 of them, 6 of which are currently available for sale in my Etsy shop. And on top of that, this week I also opened a Skillshare page and will be sharing some tutorials over there, starting with some of the techniques and tools I used to make this book. If you're interested in learning how this was made, you can follow me there to take the class once it's live. That link will also be down in the doobly-doo. If you want to see what other projects I have planned for the future, consider tossing me a like and subscribe. I'd love to have you around. And if you want to see what Jennifer Charlee came up with using the 3 words I gave her, check out her channel. I'm pretty excited about it myself, really. Until I see you next time, I wish you peace, love, and pineapple puppies. Bye!